Hi guys. So in the last video, we have learned regarding the concepts of constructors, types of constructors, how to create object, what is constructor overloading, what are the properties of constructors, and all the topics related to constructors with examples that we have seen in the last class. Right. So this class, we're going to learn the concept of nested class. So to start with, what is nested class? Generally, you know, in terms of C language, we have if. Okay. In that if condition, I'm going to insert one more if condition. So the if condition which is enclosed in another if condition is called as nested if. Right. In terms of your C language, there is a concept called structures. A structure which is enclosed in another structure is called as nested structure. In the same way, if I take the subject called DBMS, there we have queries. Okay. So a query which is inserted in another query is called as a nested query. In the same way, nested class is nothing but a class which is created within the other class refers to your nested class. Clear? So nested class, we have four names for that. Container class, it is also called as composition class, inner class, or synonymous class. Clear? So to interact with the properties of nested class, two or more access operators are used. So access operators are nothing but dot operators. Is that point clear? Access operators are nothing but dot operators. So generally, if I have a method like this, get method. So to call this get method, I'm going to call in this way, obj.get. So only one dot or dot operator is used, right? Now, in order to work with nested classes, you need to take the help of two or more access operators, obj dot, some obj1 dot, some get method. So this is how we are going to use two dot operators. Okay. Now, the relationship which it creates between the classes among the nested class is has a relationship. This is very important interview question as well. So in terms of inheritance, we have a relationship among the classes which is a relationship. Whereas coming to nested class, there is a relationship among the classes that is has a relationship. Now let us know with the syntax of that nested class. So this is class, outer class name. Okay. Then in this outer class, you have instance variables, you have methods. Okay. Now you can see here I've opened the outer class and here I've closed the outer class. So in this outer class, I have declared inner class. A class which is declared in another class, this is called as your nested class. Hope I'm clear, right? So now there are some points to be remembered to work with these nested classes. As we have discussed, two or more access operators are used. Then outer class methods can access inner class methods since the object of your inner class can be of instance variable of outer class. Right, the object which you are creating for inner class that can be as instance variable of your outer class. Okay, that object is considered as instance variable of that outer class. Now, inner class methods can be made up of access properties of outer class, making an object of outer class as an instance variable of inner class. Now, you can take the outer class object, okay, you're going to make the instance variable of inner class so that it is going to act as inner class method access of properties. Fine. Now, to create an independent object for nested class, the following syntax is used. First is outer class name, followed by inner class name. Okay. With this object equals to object dot new inner class name. This is a syntax to create your object. Clear? For nested class. Now I'll say you one of the example. Okay, just listen carefully. You have one class by name employee. In that employee, I'm taking employee code as well as employee name. Now I'm taking get method. In that, I'm assigning the value for employee code and employee name. Okay, now I'm taking display method. I'm printing that code as well as name. Right, now you can see very clearly, this is the starting point of your class, right? And where this class have been ended? So this class is ended at this position. What is that class? Employee class, where it has started, okay, and it has ended here. So between this class, you have inserted one more class, okay? So a class which is inserted in another class. This is your inner class, personal, up to this point, okay? And this is outer class. So inner class is enclosed in outer class, inside the outer class. So this is called as nested class. Now what you have done is in get method, you have taken two values. In display method, you have printed those values. Now I'm going to take one more class called personal, right? In that personal class, I have taken instance variable as salary because salary won't be revealed, right? It can be termed as personal. So that's the reason I've taken personal. You can take your own names there, okay? Now public void get. So in this get method, whatever the salary I've declared as I'm assigning 1 lakh for that, and public void display, I'm printing that salary as 1 lakh. Okay, this is public void G entity. Okay, now this is very important. You have created object for personal class here itself before ending your external class, outer class. Okay, personal obj equals to new personal. You have created object for the personal class, right? Now, continuity of program. I need to create, okay, class nested with main function, right? What I need to do is I need to create object for employee class. So you can see here, this is the object for employee class. So I'm going to create object for that. Employee nobj equals to new employee. Okay. Now I'll say nobj dot get. When I say nobj dot get, cursor comes to this point and is going to take EC equals to 101, EN equals to some Kishore, which is given, right? Then afterwards, you need to call display method, okay? So how I'm going to do is take this one, okay? nobj.display. Now this display method is present in outer class, so directly you can call with the help of nobj.display because nobj is the object of your employee class. So you can call the properties. So it goes to nobj.display. So it goes to nobj.display here. It is going to print the value of e code as well as e name, right? That is done. And second thing, two methods have been done, obj.d, obj.get as well as display. Now I need to call G method as well as D method. But you can see this G method is present in personal class and this D method is also present in personal class, right? So there is an object called obj for this personal class. So in order to access this G as well as D, I need to take the help of two access operators. So what is my first object for outer class for this employee class? It is nobj dot. Okay, here you have the object for personal class. So dot obj dot. And this is an object for personal class, right? So now this obj1 can access G method as well as D method. So I'm going to write here G. Next, I need to call one more method. What is that method? D method, right? Because you have D method also in this. You have called G method, which is completed. Now you need to call D method as well. So which is nothing but nobj dot obj dot D method. Is it point clear? So how many access operators are there? Two access operators. 1, 2. So you can have two or more than two dot operators. Okay. But in this case, we have only two dot operators. Clear? This is all about nested class. Fine. Next point is method overloading. Okay. So what is method overloading? It includes the concept of polymorphism. So where you have the concept poly refers to many and morphism refers to forms. Right. So polymorphism is nothing but it's a concept of many forms. Okay. So now at method overloading, what you're going to do is common method name you're going to take. In the constructors, you have constructors, right? So in method overloading, you're going to take common methods that can be used for any number of times, differentiating them with list of parameters. Now you can see example program for method overloading. Put your concentration, guys, please. This is very important. So class sample you have taken in this int a comma b you have taken. So first method public void get of x. How many parameters are there in this get method? Only one parameter. Okay. Now a value I'm assigning to x value I'm assigning to a and b value is 25. That is fine. Now same get method. How many parameters are there here? Only one parameter. Now same get method, two parameters of integer type. So I'm assigning, see this x is local to this block itself. And this x and y are local to this block itself. They can't be accessed outside. Fine. So this x value I'm assigning in A and y value I'm assigning in B. Clear? Then afterwards, you have public void display. As usual, you are displaying the values. Now I've taken class method overloading. Main function, here semicolon won't be there. Sample obj equals to new sample. For this sample class, okay, you need to create object. Sample obj equals to new sample. Then what is my next point? I'm calling obj.get of 25. So cursor goes to obj.get here. Okay, with the value 25. Now a value will be 25, b value will be 25. Clear? Then afterwards, obj.display. So it goes to display function here. Okay, it is going to give 25 plus 25, 30. Sorry, 25 space 25. Is that point clear? This is for obj.display. Now again, you are changing the values and calling this get method with double parameters. You can see here 42, comma 60. So it is going to take 42, comma 60. Right. Now a value is going to become 42. B value is going to become 60. Then display, you have said obj.display. So it is going to display the value of that particular point, right? So you can see here a value is 42, b value is 60, which is nothing but 102. Is that point clear? So this is all about the nested class. Then afterwards, we have very, very important topic about the concept called this keyword. Okay, fine. So now we are going to discuss about the topic this keyword. It is used to differentiate the instance variables and local variables when they are represented with same name in the class. I'll say this sentence with an example program. Now let us go with the second point. It is a hidden object which automatically enters into the class when a message is passed to that particular class. Fine. So when instance variables are used with this keyword, you're going to use one dot operator. Fine. So it can also be used for interacting with set of values enclosed in current working object. Is that point clear? So let us go with an example program. So this is the program now. This is sample I've taken. I've taken three instance variables. A, comma, B, and C. Now these are instance variables. Now I've taken a method. What is my method? Get method. In that I have taken int A, comma, int B. So in this get method, you have two variables A, B. Now these A and B are declared in this get method. So these are called as local variables, and these are local to this get method. They can be accessed only inside this get method. They can't be accessed outside the get method. So these are local variables. Fine. Now what I am doing is, just see here. You can you'll get the concept here. Instance variables are declared with A and B. Local variables are also declared with A and B. Fine. So now, when instance variables and local variables are given with same name, how can you differentiate them? Which is instance variable and which is local variable? Fine. So in order to differentiate that instance variables and local variables, you have been given with the concept of this keyword. Is it point clear? Now you can see here this dot a. See, before writing this keyword, I'll say a equals to a and b equals to b. Now, how can you differentiate which is your instance variable and which is your local variable? So it's a bit tough for us to explain that, right? That's the reason if I attach this to that particular variable, right? Now this dot a and this dot b, these a and b are going to become your instance variables, and this A and this B are going to become your local variables. Is it point clear? So that is the main purpose of this keyword. Now what I've done, I've taken one more method. Okay, public void calc. In that C equals to A plus B, I'm going to calculate and I'm going to print those A, B, C values. Fine. So just you can see A plus B plus C is nothing but from where you're going to send the values that we are going to check. Okay. So is that point clear till now? Now I'm taking one of the class by name MO and I'm working with main method. Okay, this semicolon I'm removing. Now this is very, very important point. Int p equals to integer dot parse int of args of 0 and args of 1. So what is this args of 0 and args of 1? This is string variable, array of string, right? So what I'm going to do is, in args of 0th position, I'm going to store one value, and in args of first position, I'm going to store one value. This is nothing but p value and this is nothing but q value. Now, what is the main purpose of integer dot parse int here? Right. So I said in Java, character is provided with 2 bytes of memory. Okay. It interacts with Unicode concept, universal code. So whatever the input you give, that will be in the form of a string. Whether you give 5, whether you give 10, whether you give Raj, okay, whatever the input you give, all this will be stored in the form of strings. Now you can see int p equals to, I'm going to store one variable in args of 0th position. Let us suppose 5, right? When I'm storing this 5, that will be stored in args of 0th position, but this args is of string data type. Is that point clear? This is a string class. So whatever you're storing, that will be stored in the form of a string. Now I need to convert string into its respective data type. String, actually 5 is of integer, but it is taken as string internally. Now I need to convert that string, which is 5, to its integer. So that's the reason I'm going to use a concept called wrapper class. Is that point clear? So this is wrapper class, integer dot parse int. So what I'm going to do is, whatever the input that is in the form of string, that will be changed into respective data type, that is integer, that is parsed. String is parsed to integer, and that will be stored in p. For the point, now p holds 5 of integer only. Args of 0 holds 5 of string type. But as you have used wrapper class there, integer dot parse int, now this p, which is of the 5, which is of string, that is converted into respective data type, that is integer. In the same way, int q equals to, in args of first position, I'm going to give some value. Let us suppose q equals to some 10 I'm going to give. Now this 10 will be stored in the form of string in terms of your args of 1. I need to convert this string, okay, into integer. So I'm going to use wrapper class integer dot parse int. When I say integer dot parse int, that whatever the string value is there, that will be passed into its respective integer. Clear? And next point is I need to create object for that class, this sample class, right? So everything is same now. Sample obj equals new sample, created object. Now p value holds 5, q value holds 10. You're sending obj.get of 5 comma 10. So the cursor goes to your get method with a value as 5 and b value as 10. Now these local variable values are a equals to 5 and b equals to 10, right? Now these local variable values you are storing into instance variables. That is this dot a, this dot b. So now this dot a, which is nothing but your instance variable, it will be stored with 5 and this will be stored with 10. Clear? Once after storing all this, again cursor comes to, control comes to its respective calling function. Again obj.calc. Now it goes to your calc method. Fine. So in this calc method, you are calculating c equals to a plus b value and you're printing those values. How you're going to print here? This is the output generally you can expect like this. 5 plus 10 equals to 15. The main purpose of this keyword has been achieved, right? So to differentiate between these local variables and instance variables, you are going to use this keyword. As I said, you're going to use dot operator here to access those instance variables. This dot A, this dot B. Hope this is clear. So now we are going to learn a next topic, which is garbage collection. The name itself suggests that garbage, the objects which are not used for a longer period of time, those are called as garbage, and memory for those objects will be deallocated using this garbage collection. I'll say you one of the exam, I'll say you clearly. Let us suppose I've created object like this. I've created object 1, I've created object 2, and I've created object 3. What I'm doing is I'm using first object obj1.get, right? Then I'm using obj2.get and I'm writing obj3.get. Now obj3 dot some a equals to I'm assigning some value. Okay. Then I'm going to say obj dot some b equals to 20, obj3 dot b equals to 20. Now obj3 dot display, I'm going to call a method. Is it point clear? Now I'm going to say again obj3 dot some z equals to some 100. Next I'm going to say obj3 dot some function d I'm going to call. So what I'm doing here, I'm using this object 3 frequently, right? But whenever I take an example of this object 1 and object 2, I'm not using this object for longer period of time. So what this garbage collection will do is it is going to check the program, how many objects are created and how many objects are being used frequently, and what are the objects which are not used for longer period of time. So in this case, obj1 and obj2, these are two objects which are not used for longer period of time. So garbage collection is going to collect these objects, obj1 and obj2, and it is going to deallocate the memory for these two objects. Is that point clear? So thus memory for these two objects which are not used for longer period of time, that will be collected and that memory is delocated for those objects. So this is called as garbage collection. Now, if you take an example of C as C++, in these languages, right, the memory is deallocated at runtime using two operators. One is free operator as well as delete operator. As these two operators are not supported in Java, such type of deallocation is not provided in Java. Fine. So Java deallocates memory all at once by collecting those objects which are not used for longer period of time. So in order to confirm the deallocation of memory, you are using a method called finalizer. So using this finalizer method, I can conclude that the memory for those objects have been deleted, which are not used for longer period of time. So always that finalizer method should be attached with protected access specifier. This is for sure, right? Next, you have the syntax for that protected finalizer. system.out.println memory is deallocated. So this is how we are going to insert. Okay, at the end of this should be inserted at the last of your program. Is it point clear? It shows that memory is deallocated for all those objects. So garbage collection is so simple. Only thing is it is going to collect the objects which are not used for longer period of time, and it is going to deallocate the memory for that object. Generally, you allocate the memory for that object using new keyword. Now deallocation can be done with the help of garbage collection, and you're going to use a method for confirmation, that is finalizer. This is all about garbage collection. So in next class, we are going to see what is inheritance, and there are some keywords: super keyword, final keyword, and in that inheritance, you are going to learn what is method overriding. Okay. And in that inheritance, as we have discussed, multiple inheritance is not supported by Java. Then how we are going to implement this multiple inheritance in Java using which concept, right? So that is interfaces. So we are going to learn about abstract classes as well as interfaces in coming sessions. Fine. Thank you all.